Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and I thought it was worth doing a dedicated video here on the channel about ELVA Autumnborn because we are getting an event in Raid Shadow Legends that we have never seen before. 20 sacred shards for a champion in a guaranteed event. We've always had 12 or 15. I'll talk about the full context of how this compares to everything else in the game, when to expect the next one, the whole landscape of when we expect the next 2x Sacreds event, the upcoming fusion, what other players, what other community members are saying, and we're going to break down absolutely everything you need to know so you can make the most informed decision as possible when it comes to if you should pursue pulling shards for ELVA Autumnborn. Let's get into it. Alrighty, now first of all, we will go over what this means compared to the landscape of these summoning events. You can see that we have got Helior for 15, and then we waited a very long time until Rector and then Wither. Then we got them a little bit more regularly here down in the second row. We got Kyoku, Sishia, and then Nekbathar. Then we had to wait a little bit, a pretty long time, until the end of November, where we are getting ELVA for 20 shards. So you can see that typically they do 4 sacreds if it is just for an epic. They do 15 if it's a legendary, 12 for Sishia because maybe they viewed Sishia as a little bit more niche for like just a damage dealer HP burner for the spider or something, so they thought if it was 15 maybe people wouldn't pull for her, but nonetheless Sishia is a good champion, but they still had her down at 12. Now they are trying something they've never done before, and they're bumping it all the way up to 20, not even like 16 or something, 18, no, they're going all the way from 15 to 20 for ELVA. And I think there could be a couple different reasons for this. I think they view ELVA as a really good cleanser, block debuffer, speed booster, a very generally useful champion for basically every account out there in Raid. But I think if that was just the case, she would have been 15 sacreds. I think the reason that she is 20 is because she is probably the best legendary in the newest faction. So I think people are going to feel a little bit of pressure to make sure they've got some champions in that faction, to make sure they're able to clear the faction crypt when it opens here in a few months. So Plarium on their end, even though I disagree with it, they probably viewed that as a justification to bump it up from 15 to 20. And we're going to get to how the community feels here in just a little bit, but I want to make sure you understand how this is going to fit within the different summoning events that are going on in Raid. So back in the day, not back in the day, like a month ago, well, about exactly a month ago, we had the 2x Sacreds right here. And if you remember, they also double dipped that with an event for Michinaki, which ended up being very positively received and had a lot of activity and people wanting to get after it, which you'll see in some of the polling that I'll show you here in a little bit that I did on the channel. It was a vastly different feel compared to this event surrounding ELVA, because this one is not going to be double dipping with 2x Sacreds. It is going to be normal rate summoning for sacred shards. You can see that down here we get to our next 2x Sacred on December 9th, which is coming up. We are flying into December already, and we are very soon going to be getting another 2x event for sacred shards, as long as Plarium holds by their normal summoning calendar, which 99.9% of the time they do. So as you can see, this weekend right here, December 2nd, is just going to be some sort of 10x or guarantee. Usually it's on the weekend. Usually it launches on like Thursday or Friday. So I don't know that these crazy events are going to be counting as that. But then next weekend on December 9th, we're going to be getting those 2x Sacreds most likely. And it's possible, maybe not likely, but at least possible, something to have on your radar, that our holiday fusion events may be starting by the time this 2x Sacreds launch, and we may need to rip a certain amount of shards to complete a summon rush or a champion chase tournament to keep pace for whatever we're getting for a holiday seasonal champion. Like we get, you know, our Torments and our Pixneals, our winter themed champions around the Christmas holiday season that is going to be launching sometime soon in the next week or two. So it'll probably either launch this weekend with the 2x Sacreds or this weekend on December 16th with the 10x / guarantee, whatever they do on that weekend. So now if we head on over to the community tab of the channel, which by the way, I do all sorts of polling like 3, 4, 5 times a week to try and keep a pulse of the community. You can always head on over to the community tab on my YouTube channel and see all the different polls and stuff that we are doing if you would like to participate in those discussions. But a couple things I want to take note of here. What we can see for the ELVA event is we are at about a 20% clip on people saying they are going to pull for ELVA. Now, given that it's 20 sacreds, that's honestly not that bad, but I always like to make sure and note that the players who are subscribed to my YouTube channel and are, you know, watchers of YouTube videos around Raid are probably going to skew towards the more dedicated, maybe possibly more endgame players. I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag. You do get a lot of beginners that are looking for videos as well, but then you also get a lot of endgame players that enjoy being part of the community and staying up to date on stuff. So it can be a decent representation once you get up to a couple thousand votes, which is this is approaching as of me recording this. So the important thing to take note of is when we compare this to another event that does coincide with a 2x, which is not what this one does. And we can do that by scrolling down about a month ago, and then you will see this event right here. Let me pull up the pen again. You will see this event right here around Michinaki. Now, this was a 10x that coincided during 2x sacreds, and you can see it was actually a majority. We had 54% pulling for a 10x and not a 2x. Now, the argument against this is that people would have probably been ripping some sacred shards no matter what. It's a 2x, why not? If you're early or mid-game, pulling shards during a 2x is never really a bad idea because you have so many champions you still need to round out your faction wars teams, your Hydra teams, and all of that type of stuff. So you really can't go wrong pulling for a 2x. So this one, not a perfect representation of a, it's kind of apples to oranges, but kind of similar because it is the last kind of sacred event I was able to pull on the channel. But the last actual guarantee that I was able to pull, we had a 27% clip of saying yes for Stultus. That event seemed to be a little bit more positively received, but the Stultus event was kind of par for the course for what we would expect. It was 150 ancients. It wasn't 200 ancients. So what they're doing with ELVA is basically like if they would have made the Stultus event 200 ancients instead of 150. And if that happened, I do bet this 27 would have slid down to around 18 or so if I had to guess. That's a horrible 8. Let me redo that here. I would guess that that would have went down to about 18 if it was bumped up to 200. So then coming back up to the ELVA poll here, being at a 20% clip, honestly, is a little bit surprising. I would have thought that this would be in the 10 to 15 range if you asked me to guess before it happened, just based off of me constantly kind of paying attention to the community and what people are saying, how they're talking, reading on Reddit, reading on Discord, and all the different polling I do on YouTube and Twitch. I would have thought around 10, 12%, somewhere in there. So I think it is, like I said earlier, the fact that ELVA is in a brand new faction. If not, it would have been about 10%. By the way, I also did have some people asking me on Discord to confirm that it was actually 20 instead of 15 because they didn't say that on Discord, but over on Plarium's official Raid Shadow Legends Facebook page, I highlighted it for you here with my mouse in gray. You can see that it does say 20th shard right there for the ELVA event. Now, I also want to pull up an interesting Reddit post that I saw by Cosmos Doey Games, who runs a website, does all sorts of really cool tables and graphs and graphics, and really does a good job analyzing raids. So huge shout out to them as well. So yeah, they've got this chart right here where they compare the guaranteed event without a 2x and then a regular 2x event. And then the conclusion down here says, at the cost of 20 sacred shards, the guaranteed event is no longer statistically effective. A regular ×2 is better unless the guaranteed champion is very wanted by you. Also, while random is RNG, it is the only way to pull the best champions, as few expect them to give best, like Duchess is guaranteed. And I think basically what they're saying is right here, this line, total Legos expected, go from 2.1 to 2.4 in a regular 2x. So they're saying over the long term, over playing Raid for a very long time, pulling lots of shards, you're statistically going to get more legendaries in bulk if you pull during a 2x as opposed to a guaranteed summoning event. But I did think there was a really good post down below that was debating this a little bit. So let's zoom in on that a little bit, and it says this analysis ignores Mercy, which is true. So the guaranteed summoning events, they do not affect your Mercy. So if you are, let's say like your 5th shard, you pull a legendary, then you go 15 shards up to your 20 and get ELVA, well, you're still going to be 15 shards into your Mercy. So you can still save that and get another legendary. You're just getting a bonus for the ELVA guaranteed event. It does not reset things. That is an important distinction to make. So what they're saying is that's a significant factor, and Mercy has a smaller effect during 2x since you are less likely to ever reach it. That's true. During 2x Sacreds, you're probably not going to reach Mercy, so it's not really going to come into play. And since going from 12% to 14% is less of an improvement than 6 to 8, this means that 2x events are not literally twice as good. In the long run, as in an average over large amounts of shards, cycling through Mercy multiple times, 2x events give you about 1.5 times as many legendaries as pulling outside of an event. They simulated it right there. And then if you are curious to see those exact results, you could click on that. But they also say at 15 Sacreds for a guarantee, you're coming out ahead on total number of legendaries. At 20, you're just about breaking even. So they're arguing that it's not so cut and dry, and it's not such an easy debate. Then lastly, if you're tracking your Mercy, then this long run simulation may be less relevant than knowing what you're actually at. Starting from 0 Mercy outside of a 2x is rough. Starting from 15 is much less so. That's true. So for this ELVA event, if you're starting at 0 Mercy and you're pulling outside of a 2x, that can get real rough really fast. It's really easy for you to pull 20 Sacreds and only come away with ELVA because of how the Mercy system works. Now, speaking about the Mercy system, which you can always see in game by clicking on the portal, it'll show you the default odds right here, 6%, because we're pulling outside of a 2x event. And then the Mercy system, you can see after 12 summons without a legendary on Sacred Shards, you're gonna get 2% each time. Now, I think that is abhorrent. I think that needs to be 10%. I think you're starting at 6 on your 13th shard. Instead of it going from 6% to 8% to 10% to 12%, that's horrific on Sacred Shards. That should be going up 10% a pop. It should go from 6 to 16 to 26 to 36 and get you through that Mercy really quick. It's already a lot after 12 Sacreds. I mean, if these things are going to be $25 a pop, that is a lot to go without getting a legendary. That really feels bad. That Mercy needs to ramp up a lot faster. But anyway, I digress. It only goes up 2% per shard. So that means after 12, at your 13th shard, you're going to be at 8%. Your 14th shard, you're going to be at 10%, and so on and so on and so on. So you can see it's very realistic to pull 20 shards during this event and only walk away with ELVA if you're starting your Mercy at 0, which a lot of people stop pulling when they pull a legendary. So a lot of people out there are probably going to be starting at 0. So now, as we try to figure out, should we pull, or should someone like me who has the 20 Sacreds ready to rock, should I pull? I want to pull up now I need to redo this. I've been working on it. There's always a million projects going on behind the scenes. I am working on getting this up to date. This is probably like 4 or 5 months ago, where Cold Brew and I sat down and compared our top 25 non-void legendaries. We did them independently, and then we compared our lists, so that we could see where we agree and disagree and all that. But this needs to be rehashed, and I am acquiring the way to make that happen already. But you know, where would ELVA come out on something like this? Admittedly, is a little bit out to date, but it's the most up-to-date thing I have. Where would ELVA rank for me on something like this? Honestly, probably in that like Lady Kimmy tier. I'd probably go like right here for ELVA. So yeah, I mean, possibly like probably a top 10 non-void legendary. I would slot in right there probably. And also another thing to possibly consider, not for all of you, but some of you may want to look at the context of this, is where do you sit right now for Sylvan Watchers? I already am lucky enough to have pulled a King Galkabar, so I do have a legendary to build around, and I do have a couple epics. Now, someone like me who participates in most of the events, I'll probably have 1 or 2 more epics to go with, so I should be mostly set to get pretty close to stage 20 or 21 for Sylvan Watchers based on the gear level of my account. So I shouldn't really need ELVA to finish the Sylvan Watchers. Going with some good gear on 3 or 4 epics and a legendary, I should be able to make it happen. But for some of you, maybe you don't have a single champion yet, and you do have like 21 Sacreds or something, and you're in a phase where ELVA would go in almost like every team you use or something. So it's going to really depend on everybody's account, and everybody's going to be in a vastly different situation. So then, will I personally pull? Oh my goodness, it's a tough one. It's so tough. I'm literally like 50-50 if I should. Like, I would definitely get some use out of her. I would probably use her in like my third team for Tag Team Arena, and I would probably use her on one of my Hydra teams. I don't think that I would get any use out of her in Dungeons. I would definitely use her in Faction Wars, and maybe even a couple different like Doom Tower bosses or something. The speed buff and the block debuffs is really good also to have with the revive to make things super consistent. So, you know, right now, I don't like to fence it and say to be determined. I would say I'm recording this like right before bed, so this video is going to come out kind of like while I'm sleeping early in the morning. I'm going to kind of edit it and get it submitted, let it process, and have it send out in the morning early. So I would say right now I'm probably like 85-90% going to pull for her at the time of recording this. So if you made me say something in the video right now, I would say for me personally, I'm probably going to, but I totally get the argument for people holding off and waiting for your shards for 2x events. I do think there's an argument to be made that if you are early game, mid game, that the long haul of your account, you would want to wait for 2x because you still need so many different legendaries to round out your account. And it just depends on where you stand and how many sacreds you have. I also don't just have 20 sacreds. You know, I've done a pretty good job of making sure I run the clan boss every day for years, and I'm up to you can't see it behind me. Let me put myself down here. Let's go with that right there. So you can see that I have 59 sacreds, so it would take me down to 39. So it's obviously a much different conversation if I have 22 sacreds or if I have 59. If I have 22, gosh, this one is so tough because I do want ELVA, and I do think she's a really good champion, and I do think I would use her, and I think she's a top 10 non-void legendary. But it is razor thin. It is tough, and I really don't like that they took it from 15 to 20. I think, like, if I was advising them, I would have said make it 16 or something. And don't take it all the way from 15 to 20. That's just too much. That's like taking the ancient summoning events all the way from 150 to 200. I don't like it. It just puts a sour taste out there in the community. So I think because of how many I've been able to save up over the years, I probably will go for it. But if I had 20, I probably wouldn't. So yeah, it's a tough one, and keep letting me know what you think down below. I always enjoy interacting with the community and hearing all sorts of the different perspectives that are out there. And thanks for everybody that participates on the polling that we do over in the community tab of the channel. It really helps me keep a pulse to what's going on and be able to use that in content to have talks like this with you. So if you are polling for ELVA, good luck. I'm sure I'll do mine live on stream on like Twitch or YouTube and whatnot if we're ripping shards for ELVA and have fun with it. But yeah, as always, remember to subscribe on your way out if you enjoy daily Raid Shadow Legends content, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Good luck if you're pulling for ELVA. Peace.